Are you all together in your teams, or you're in different seats?
Some of them teams, some of them without.
It doesn't really matter for now, don't worry. We'll make it happen. There's going to be no sleeping. And you're going to leave. It's the end of the day. We need lots of energy. I'm watching up. I'm going to walk around a lot. I'm just going to go mad. Do I need the microphone?
No.
No?
No.
That was 10 seconds. Who's the fastest man in the world? Athletics, 100 meters. Usain Bolt. Yeah. In 10 seconds, he can run 100 meters, 9.58. You can do a hell of a lot in 10 seconds, positively and negatively. Okay, I got the intro from Jolt. So many people, I think nearly everybody today, began with, hello, my name is, and even if you only take 4 or 5 seconds, Usain Bolt could have run 50 meters. Joel's been asking me all week, in the last 2 weeks, what am I going to talk about? And I had many, many ideas. And then I saw today, most of today, so I thought, let's do something that can be constructive to you. It's the end of the day with some energy, and then I have fun too. So I spend most of my time actually working on speeches and presentations for people, both in Hungary, in London, in San Francisco, at a place called Silicon Valley, you may have heard. So I've developed a system over the last few years, and I'm going to break all my own rules in talking to you. So I suggest you do as I suggest and not do as I do, just so you understand. So we'll go through a simple little exercise. We've got some paper. Yeah, in a moment. It's okay, in a moment. And just show you how absolutely simple it is to make really good, memorable, nice to remember from the audience and from the presentation side, talks, presentations. One request of you, we'll make this a deal. So I know this is not really a room, but let's pretend this is a room. Whatever I ask, whatever you answer, it doesn't matter how crazy, silly the first thought that comes into your head is. If you wish to say it, and nobody will laugh or make fun, or next week say, hey, he said that. Is that a deal? Okay? Yeah. We keep this kind of private as private. And I'm not expecting anything crazy, but sometimes it happens. Right, your first question. Why does anybody buy anything?
Because we need it.
It says because we need it. Any other?
Because they say we need it.
They say we need it because you want it. No. There's one reason why anybody buys anything. Why I buy shoes, you buy shirts, we buy food. Why investors buy a company. To feel better. Nobody buys anything and plan to feel worse. So we all do things because of emotions. We do things to move from pain to pleasure. So when you're giving a talk, you need to think of the audience. You need to think of giving them, if not some pleasure, but at least not some pain. I'm not saying you gave us pain today, but think of the audience. He will also tell you that I pestered the life out of him to get the plan of this room. And he sent me the link to the Simonyi TV, and I had, which was great, but it's only this part. And when we got the plan, then I could really decide how much I was going to do today. If it was a big circular room, it doesn't really matter for this size of audience, but basically, I did my research before I came here on the room. I did my research today kind of on you guys of where you are. But even though I do this and this kind of talk many times, I still want to know how I can do it best for you. So you say, hey, that was a great guy, because that makes me feel good even if you never actually say it to my face. But this is a small world. as I found out today actually, Imre Fador is on the jury. I have never met him before. I live in Therese Route 23, second floor, 8B. His office is 10B. We are this far apart from each other. So I've had to come to Pitch to meet my neighbor. This is a tiny world. So I know if you like me, I'll feel it one way or another, and if you don't, I'll feel it. But the point is that it doesn't matter who you're talking to or why you're talking. Even if the audience, it's a very noisy ice cream machine, even if the audience are not paying you any physical money for the ticket, you are giving me your time. So there is an exchange. So I want to give you value. And wherever you're talking, you need to think the same. The problem comes when you are talking about your business and your startups. Now, most of you, in fact, the majority of you, are way too young to probably have children, but we've probably all met parents who've just had kids. Aren't they annoying? Oh, little Johnny's wet the floor, isn't he clever? And Susie's been sick, but she's made it look like Australia. She's really smart. Yeah, it's so annoying. But they want to talk about their babies, and it's understandable. And you guys with your startups want to talk about your babies and your ideas. You know, you've got all this stuff going on, and I want to talk about it. I want to tell you. Oh, and not only it does that, and I can do that. And if you're doing something techie, and especially if it could be described as a platform which can work in many markets, well, we can do it for hairdressers, we can do it for lawyers, we can do it for students, we can do it for, yeah, okay, fine. But would you go on a date and sit there and say, hello, I was born, and then I learned to say dada, and then I learned to walk, and then you don't do that, you just drop in relevant bits. Oh, and my socks are in the left drawer, and I get the 9:15 bus. You know, you don't give a data dump of a ton of stuff. You have a conversation. And the best talks and the best presentations are a conversation. And if you think of having a conversation, even though you're not, and you can do, replying with your mouths with me, I'm seeing nods and reactions and things. So to me, that's all I get. No, it's a conversation, it's fine. It's a conversation. But if you think of having a conversation, instead of, I'm giving a lecture about my company, I'm giving a data dump of all the information about my company, but I'm having a conversation with people, then suddenly things become a lot easier. I've got a ton of tricks and things to make all this a lot easier, but start with this kind of thinking. Make a conversation. So if you make a conversation, you don't do what I just said on this crazy, awful date of this massive amount of information. You have a bit of interchange. Even if you as an audience and any people you are presenting to are not giving you a verbal feedback, you're having a conversation. And I think everybody here is capable of having a conversation. So I'm not telling you anything you can't do, so that's wonderful because you can do all this stuff. We then have this problem of you want to talk about your babies, you've had all this time, you've thought about these things. So how do you get to the point of not talking about everything and tailoring things to the audience, like I did, like I checked what this room is like. What are you guys going to be like? And sometimes I get thrown some bad information, not here. I've just been doing a 3-day incubator course in Budapest, and we were in a room pretty much like this. And when I came to this kind of talk I was doing yesterday, I think, oh no, we're in a different room. And it didn't really matter, but I just wanted to reorientate myself. So thinking about your audience is very, very important, whether you're giving any kind of talk or a presentation. And I'll go on to this a little bit more later. Where's my helper gone? We might need the papers in a minute. I hate the concept of templates, and you do this, and you do that, and you do that, and you do that. That's nothing against the lean canvas model. That's a great way of doing things. But for giving talks, conversations are not so structured. But what I do is I have this system, and that's my excuse for giving you some guidelines. It's a system, it's not a bang, 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 bang. Having said that, I'm now, for the sake of speed, I'm going to tell you bang, 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 bang. So, actually, no, let's do a question. Let's do some questions. Today, I think pretty much everybody here is at the team, or you know what went on today, even if you didn't speak. So, somebody tell me one very important topic, one part, one subject within any presentation about your business idea. What's one very important topic, subject, that really has to be in a talk? Just anything. And I say before, don't forget, just call something out. There's no judgment.
The problem is solved.
Problem, you say. Okay? Another one?
The unique value proposition. Unique value proposition.
USP. So, yeah, okay, all right. Yeah.
Visibility. Visibility.
Okay. Any more?
Market.
Ah! Well done. We got there in the end. Market. Team?
Team.
Thank you. You see, you know all this stuff.
And product.
And product. Yeah. So, I'll give you a very, very quick kind of layout that we will very, very briefly play with, but I want you to think about this just as me giving you an example, and then you go away in your teams another time or whatever and think about this. Most people say problem, solution, and then some other stuff. That's fine, but if you are giving presentations to investors or people from whom you want money from or something like that, we might have a problem right now in this room. We might lose the electricity. We might have some heating or something. You know, we might have a problem here. That's not a market. But if you address what is the market, then suddenly you are thinking as the audience. You're thinking like an investor. And you will have done the thinking and the conversation within your teams or within your head about problem. You don't necessarily need to talk problem to an audience, to investors. If you go with market as a topic, then immediately you're thinking like a business person. So for the sake of this simple example now, let's just say topic one is market stroke problem. I'll let you keep problem. It is a valid thing, but I think you understand why I think market is much better. So you then have market, problem. You then have product, solution. Now, it may still be an idea, but your solution is this product. So if you've got market and product, it's a much more, it shows a much more business thinking than there is a problem in and we have found a solution. It's kind of the same, but it's much more powerful, especially for investors. And a very, very simple 5-topic order is market, product, solution. Brought to you by this wonderful team, and very few of you today talked about the teams. And then, where are you now? Is it just an idea? Do you have a working prototype, if it's a thing or a bit of software? Or do you have 10,000 users or whatever? And then where are you now in terms of, where are you now and what do you want? Do you want a CTO? Do you need a sales guy? Do you need $10 million? But in terms of, this is super, super simple, but deliberately super, super simple. So we got market, product, team, where are you now, where are you going to go? Now, if you only hit those 5 topics, you're actually giving a ton of information, useful information. So, there's going to be more. Why I like 5 is that's about I try and work, you heard Gabor talk about MVP, minimal viable product. I talk about MVP, the minimal viable presentation. If nothing else, and they say this is just to give you some guidelines, I like 5 for this simple reason. We have, most of us hopefully have 5 on each hand. And you can count, and I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I did that just by counting my fingers without going. And that's just another little thing that you can use to remember, have you done topic number 3? But there's going to be others. And I usually throw out a topic to people, which is one you'd never kind of use, which is history. Now history, what do you mean? History is the history of the market, the history of the team, the history of the product, the solutions. And that's quite a nice generic one if you're doing any kind of formal or informal kind of brainstorming or team thinking or whatever of, you know, what else is there out there. And I suggest that we'll do the little exercise very soon, but never, ever, ever, ever throw any word or phrase or idea away. Never delete it. Keep it somewhere. Because if you are thinking consciously or subconsciously about your idea or your business or whatever, if your head has turned it out, the head has produced this for some reason. And it may not be relevant right now, but it may come somewhere in the future. So never throw anything away like that. Can we give out some paper? Because what I want to do is just try something which I haven't done for years until last Tuesday or Wednesday this week, and it worked really well. Have you got enough for everybody?
Yeah.
If there's enough for everybody, what I want to do is, I'd like you to get, you'll have to do a bit of work of ripping the paper probably. I want you to get 5, if you can get more, little pieces of paper, like post-it size notes, anything, just to write one word on. And I want you to rip them so that you've got like 5 or 6 little pieces of paper. This is not an essential part of doing a presentation, the tearing of the paper, but I don't have lots of little pieces of paper. It will all make sense, don't worry, and no paper aeroplane. Shout! Schnell! Those of you who've got your 4, 5 or 6 bits of paper, if you want to copy those, those topics I said down and use those, I will tell you them again. If you want to use my ones now, that's fine. That's not the point of this exercise. But ideally, come up with 5, 6, 7, if you have enough bits of paper, topics like we just described, like market, like solution or product, or now, the future, what we want, anything else you can think of that is relevant to your the business. If you're not part of a team, then just choose anything you might choose for a talk. I just want you to have 5 or 6 things written down on a piece of paper, but things that are connected to what your project is. We're tree destroying at the moment. It's okay, it's part of the job creation scheme. So I say if you want to copy mine with market, product, now, future, team, then fine, I don't really mind. If you think of something else that's relevant for your project, then use it. I'd like the time spent writing, not ripping paper, please. You have no pen? Oh, we didn't see that, did we? I'll let you have the pen.
Well, I must get that back.
Yeah, so 5 or 6 topics. You can copy mine, so if you want to just write these down, fine. If you want to think of something of your own, put market. I want 5 or 6 topics that should be in a talk a presentation about your business, your idea. So I'm suggesting market, product, team. Now, where are you now? Is this an idea? Do you have customers? I know most of you are just at the idea stage. And what do you want next? Just keep this really simple. Don't overthink this at all. And as I said, please copy mine. Does everybody understand? Yeah? I mean, if not, don't be frightened. Just say no. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. If you can think of other ones that are really suitable for you, then fine.
Is it just one word or a phrase?
Ideally a word. It's not, as I said, this is not so important, but I've used words, so you can copy my words, or really don't overthink this, just put something down. It's not so important right now. It's more important. If you only copy mine, that's fine. We still got people writing. Yeah, I mean, really don't think this too hard. I guess shake it out. A lawyer friend of mine says I'm a very dangerous customer. He doesn't know how much Hungarian I understand. To which I said, that's perfect. How are we doing? Are we done? All right, a few more seconds to say this shouldn't be so complicated. I wanted what? Oh, you've got something on every page, yeah? Or just okay. All right, don't worry about it. We see how we go. Now, can you, like some playing cards, and not even look at them, just mess them about. Just put them in a different order. Don't worry, this will all make sense. Just mess them up and put them on your knee, put them like on top of each other. So. Oh, okay, sorry. All right, so you've got 5. That's one more. Okay. So you've got your piece of paper. Don't worry about looking at them, whatever. I'm not going to make them turn into a bird or anything. Now, these chairs, I know, are not the most comfortable things in the world. But could you all try and get comfortable and put things down and just sit? Because this is the best part of the afternoon. For about a minute, I want you to do absolutely nothing. So get in a nice, comfortable position and close your eyes and just breathe. Seriously. Just get comfortable and shut up and just sit. Get in a position. Don't worry, you will not go to sleep. I will make sure of it. Close your eyes and just find, if you have in your very youthful bodies compared to mine, any tension, if you have a headache, if you have a neck ache, just do a little scan through yourselves and just let everything go. You see, you're in a university and I'm giving you the time and it's all about you. Isn't this wonderful? So, have we all just about switched off for a little while, nearly, some of you? Okay, don't worry. Just breathe and think about yourself and let everything go. How's that? Now, I will count from 5 down to 1. And when I get to 1, which I haven't done yet, 5, you will start to come back to the room. 4, 3, 2, now. Choose from your paper, you can come back and wake up and whatever, choose from your paper the 3rd and the 4th counting down pieces of paper. Now, for one of those, I don't care which, look at one of those, the third or the fourth, write down the first word you think of when you read that word. Don't think about it. You read whatever you've written, what's the first word you think of? Like, straight away, no thinking. Just, what's your third one, or what's your fourth one? What's the word? What do I think of? And we should all be done. Yeah? We should all be done. Now, it doesn't matter, you don't have to tell me, but has anybody written anything down that's really surprising? Like you've got your team thing and you've written down dinosaur or something. Has anyone got anything? You don't have to share it, or have you got something that is very, very sensible or very weird? Sensible, weird, funny? Tell me if you want. No.
Yeah, the word and the second word.
Motivation and try. Okay, motivation. Yeah, okay. Has nobody got anything weird? Because this is really unusual. Usually we get some quite bizarre things. Maybe you didn't relax enough. The point of this is, and I've done this, I did this with a group, as I said earlier this week, but this works really well when people get blockages. And I did this a couple of weeks ago with a really big speaker who we had the title of what they had to talk about, this great long sentence, but they wanted it short. And there was four of us like going, well, what about that word, and what about that word, and what about that word? And in the end, I got the woman to sit down, and we did this for a couple of minutes. And I said, okay, first word. And it was a word we had not even thought of, and it was the most perfect word for that talk. Now, all I was doing for this is, you know, we try too hard, we try and brainstorm and think, and what does that mean? This, you know, whether this works or not right now, it doesn't matter. It's worth doing just from time to time. I'm not saying every month, every week, or whatever. If you get a blockage on something, it's worth trying, because quite often a word will come into your head that will never really have come without weeks and weeks and weeks of thinking. The whole point of this is to make presentations very easy, and now I will explain why. I gave you 5 segments, 5 topics, whatever. Some of you have written more. That's fine. Certainly, I suggest no more than 10, but most businesses can normally do 6 or 7. Now, you noticed, what am I not using behind me? I am not using slides. Do you remember what I said at the beginning? We make a conversation. Gabo and I are part of the European Entrepreneurship Foundation, and we used to do startup courses at the CEU Business School in Budapest, which is supported, funded by George Soros. And I used to say to the class, you could get in the lift one night, and there is George Soros. You can't get out a projector. You can't show him your slides. Okay, we could do a mobile phone, but you know what I mean. Similarly, even if you have broken down a talk into 5 or 6 simple segments, and you've done I've done number 1, I've done number 2, you can't stand there if a big investor says, I know you have a business, I know you want investment, I'm an investor, what's in it for me? What's the value for an investor? And if that's your topic 4 or 5, you can't stand there and go, topic number 1 is this, topic number 2 is that. Tell me number 3, that's how I want that. So, you need to work out, and it ain't difficult, what are the 5, 6, 7 really, really, really important topics that you need to be able to talk about at any time. And this is worth spending some time on. We don't do it now, but it's worth spending time with your teams and separately doing this. You know, anybody who's at like university age or above could write a CV that's at least 1 page and full and probably onto a page and a half, blah, 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 blah. When you're as old as I am, it could go on for books and books and books. That's fine, and it's back to what I was saying before about you know all the things about your business and you've got all the information. But what am I in a sentence, in a word, that's not rude, but you know, when you do that editing down, it's really, really tough. but that's how you need to communicate. So if you break down what you have to talk about, and as I said, please use my simple guidelines to begin with and my simple topics, but you really need to find your own, and it doesn't have to be in this order whatsoever. But let's just say you've got market, team, and now I'm mixing them up deliberately, product, finance, marketing, blah, blah, blah. What are the important ones for you? And then you need to hit what are the very important words in each of those topics. We are a great team. We have a hairdresser, a rocket scientist, and a guy who looks after sheep. Whatever. But it's important. The sheep's got a really nice haircut. But it's very important that he flies to the moon. But it's important for the simple reason, if you get down to the MVP, the minimal viable presentation, what are the 5 or 6 things you need to talk about? Very few people today, as I said, if any, talked about the team. Very few people talked about what are the competition. You may have done in some of your introductions, and I'm sorry I didn't get all of the things in Hungarian, so you may have done. But just thinking about it now in a more structured way. But think of these like big Lego blocks. Because if you can get down, let's just, for my description now, 5 different topics. Let's say 7, let's make it easier. You can get 7 topics and 5 key words, key facts for each topic. You only have 35 words to learn. That's not difficult. You are all at least looking like you understand me, so you're at least pretty bilingual. You know more than 70 words, 35 in each language. Learning 35 words, that's simple. And if you have got tucked away in some cellar somewhere in Page, your coding guy who you allow out once a day to go to the bathroom and allowed to answer the door when the pizza comes, if all he has learned is 35 words and he meets George Soros in a lift and all he can say is team, shepherd, he's got the right information out there. It doesn't matter that he said, I'd like to present my team, they are a wonderful team of da-da-da-da-da. That's all very nice, but what are the facts? Because people want the facts. So all you're doing is getting the facts. This is all this is. I don't think you're in. I spend Augusts in Silicon Valley at a little place called NASA, and I do this thing there, and it's great because I love saying to these people, and as you can see, this is not rocket science, and we know we're rocket scientists. It's not rocket science. This is just thinking in a structured way, but it's not so structured because, as I said, I'm breaking some of my rules by talking things not in a particular order, but that's me responding to how I see you are responding. But you can mix and match these things. Don't usually start with the team unless it is so important or you are asked about it. Usually, Charles Dickens. Who's heard of Charles Dickens? English author? Yeah. I'm not sure. I know you're well educated, but I'm not assuming anything. A Tale of Two Cities. His book about the French Revolution. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. That's the first line of this book. He didn't say, hello, I'm Charles Dickens. I'm writing you a book about the French Revolution. He gives you something, you want to know, what the hell is he going with this? What's going to happen more? So if you've got your facts in your 5, 6, 7 topics, let's say you can do the 35 words or 40 words or whatever, make each one of those topics a little miniature presentation. So if you meet George Soros in the lift and he says finance, bang, you've got, if nothing else, you just say the 5 words. 5 million tomorrow, we will make this with it. You are all capable of doing the joining up words, the and, also, and, but. And also, more importantly, everybody in a team needs to be able to spit out a few words. The guy who just eats the pizza, as I said, everybody, Imre Hild, who is Gabor's boss, says, you need to be always pitching. I totally agree, but it needs to be tailored to the situation, which comes back to what I said at the beginning. I wanted to know who you guys were, what the room was like, because you then tailor things. If you've got these key few things to learn, you're not learning a script, you're making a real MV presentation, which will last. How long does it take to say 35 words? 30 seconds? You've got the most ridiculously short presentation, shorter than you'll ever need. But because nobody knows your business better than you, you've got all this knowledge of all the other things you can add on, and when someone says, speak for 2 minutes, God, I've got 1.5 minutes to fill. When I speak for 5 minutes, oh, Jesus. Instead of speaking for half an hour and having to edit it down, oh, I can't get, because I just proved to you earlier how long is 10 seconds and what can happen in 10 seconds. So when you build things up from a very strong base, you have the most amazing feeling of, and excuse me, ladies, I'm the man, whatever the female equivalent is, but, and as I said to the teams I was working with early in the week, you could be pitching in front of, I don't know, whoever, Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Blank, or whatever. Still, none of them know more about your business than you do, which gives you another. They may have made trillions in Facebook. You haven't made Facebook, you've made whatever. I can't remember you all specifically, but you kind of get the idea. And this is putting things together in a way that's just so easy for you to use. I hope it's coming over as easy to use, but also gives you a lot of, it takes away a lot of the nervousness. You're not learning a 2-minute script, and I've got a 5-minute script which I can do that, because the moment you learn a script and you get one word wrong, it can be a simple word, then your head goes, oh fuck, I've got to do it, and your head starts playing tricks with you. If you're just taking a few blocks and what am I gluing them together with, it's much, 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 much easier. How are we doing for time? Does this kind of make sense to everybody? Yeah? I'll do a little bit now, because I don't want to run over too much time, on actual, let's call it the performance side of things. And every few years in the UK, no doubt over here too, but certainly the newspapers in the UK love putting out this survey that people are more scared about speaking in public than of dying. For God's sake. But unfortunately, it's true. At least the people who replied to the surveys. You remember what I asked you earlier? Why does anybody do anything? To feel better. What are we actually doing up here when we are nervous about doing anything? All we're doing is going forward in time to a time where we screw up, we feel bad, we're bringing that bad feeling back to now, and we're not going there. Or we're, go to a different place. Go to a place where you succeed. In the past, one of my 1,000 things I've done, we used to have an entertainment company, and I used to do stand-up comedy. I would do most of the intros. I ended up having to do more and more and more, but I was never doing like 40 minutes or whatever, thank God. But for me to get up on the stage in front of pretty tough expat audiences in Budapest, in Prague and Bratislava, who will kind of take no prisoners, because its audience is about this big, and you're rubbish and whatever, and shout at you, I had to, in my head, when I was coming up with what wonderful bits of wisdom and things I was going to say, I had to see the audience laughing and smiling and clapping and enjoying themselves. Sometimes it worked, many times it didn't work. But you move on. So I was going to a place where I felt good about what I was going to do. That sounds so simplistic. I've had huge positive results with a couple of startups in Budapest. There's one guy now, he presents better in English than Hungarian, because he remembers this conversation I had with him. this sounds or feels too simple, or you try it and you're not sure it's going to work. What I did with another guy, and this really worked, and he didn't have to like present the next day or whatever. I said, whenever you have a moment, write down what could possibly go wrong when you're on a stage. Like, just go crazy. What could go wrong? A car could come through the wall. You know, the stage. You know, think of everything possible that could go wrong, and decide what you would do if that thing happened. And then suddenly, nothing could happen in the world that you can't deal with or you've already dealt with. And you've got, yeah, I know my business because nobody else knows it as well as I do. I only have to know 35 words and link them with and, but, yes, great, super, hello, whatever. And, you know, the back row, I mean, what would happen, you know, in your 100, 200 auditorium room and the front row gets up and walks out? I ask this to people and they go, oh, we don't, you know, they're going to feel bad. It could be they've just got a call from an investor, we just bought your company for $10 billion. It could be a family who's just been told their daughter's had a car accident. You'll never know, really, and you shouldn't know when you're on there entertaining your audience and focusing on making the audience feel good. And having done kind of comedy and things like that, you know, people get up and walk out and go to the toilet and go blah, 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 blah. It's not your business. You need to focus on what you're doing. So this really is not rocket science, and it needs to be enjoyable. And I hope you see I enjoy doing this. This is great fun, and it should be great fun. All you're doing is getting a message across. I use exactly the same block system when I work with people doing speeches. I work with TEDx Krakow and some other TED speakers. And I will send you all some notes via Jolt on this, so you've, you know, I kind of didn't, I'm happy in a way no one's really taken too many notes. I'll send you some notes on this, and when we have it, which will be in a week or two, I'll send him the link to send to you of the video of the crazy Norwegian maths professor who I worked with recently for TEDx Krakow. He did this fantastic speech which ended up with him juggling balls that he created himself with Arduinos inside, and he 3D printed these balls and they change color depending on they're going up or down, and he's still giving his talk. But we flipped this talk totally round the night before. Because if you think of, I mean, this is like a sine wave, what we generally, and again, let's start with a structure, but really rip these things to pieces. We started with, okay, we start there, we take the audience a little high on an emotion, then we drop them down, then we take them a bit higher, and we built this talk. And it was pretty good. And we sat there the night before TEDx Krakow, it's not good enough. But because we built it in blocks, I said to him, okay, right. And he said, I can't get the start right. Forget the beginning. So imagine he's there, I'm here. I said, right, we finish with you juggling. That's the big wow. Okay. So then we do this bit. And he said, yeah, then that leads from, yeah. And this took longer than this. But, and we came back. I said, right, now what are we going to begin with? He said, oh, I'll just say this is what I do. Yeah. And it was easy. And we actually, instead of having like this kind of wave of emotions, we had like an exponential curve that just went wow. And he got the biggest recorded applause of anyone there. But I'll get the link when the videos are being edited at the moment, because A, we want, it's fun, it's great fun. B, you'll see, I think, what I'm talking about. And C, it would really be good to get lots of views of his video, because then he will get invited to speak at a big TED. So, this is not difficult. I hope you understand that. I hope you found this useful. I will send you some notes. You can also, I don't bother with slides. Who needs slides? Who needs slides? We just did a 3-day incubator thing in Budapest with no slides and 10 teams. If you're going to do slides, make sure, see what happens, very, very briefly, what happens when people make slides or prezzies? You all spend so much time making the slides, you talk about the slides. You don't talk about what you actually should be talking about. The market, the product, the da-da-da-da-da. You talk about the slides. And then you get people who are super nervous, who forget. So many times I say, have you ever watched TV? And why? People say, well, does the weather guy go? No, they go like that. And have you ever seen a weather forecast person do it in real life? They don't even have the screen there. I've seen people out like in the, without the studio, they just do this. So forget slides. Where slides or some images are useful. In 2 cases, and I think no one did the second one I'm going to finish with. But if you have, and where's the gun guys? Yeah, what you had with that interactive thing, that was great. And I think Peter's, that was good. When you've got like a demo, a film demo, never try and do a live demo of something on a stage in front of people. Like Roger with the juggling balls is a massive exception. But I guarantee something will always go wrong. You will never see these things going wrong. And I've done hundreds of hosting things. I haven't got a mental list of what can go wrong. I haven't done what I've said of myself, but something always goes wrong. But do a recorded demo. If it's an app, do some screenshots or something. So that's one very important place. And you can stand in front of a blank screen. You can talk and have a conversation. Now I'm going to show you a demo. Bang. And you could talk through the demo, then switch the screen off. But where the most important place you should have a slide is at the end. And I'm not going to produce one now. There is a fantastic piece of very expensive real estate called a screen. And if someone's doing 5 or 10 minutes of question and answers, I know one or two teams had some Q&A slides, which are always very useful to have, because you could put a list of things, which you will never do, will you, in a normal presentation. You won't make a list of things ever again, will you? No, you won't. But you can make a list for question and answers, because it's not a presentation, it's questions and answers. And if someone says, what other markets could you be in? And you go, you want my list of market slides. A finance slide for Q&A is great. Useful, because all this stuff you put on, well, in year 1 we'll do this, in the year 2 if we sell 10% more, no one can take that in and you can't read them on screen. But you can do something like that for Q&A and then point, because it's not the presentation. But before that, for God's sake, make a slide with the company name and some contact details, because it might sit there for 10 minutes or more. And no one is left, who is he? Who is she? What's the name of the company? To get that bit of advertising would actually cost a lot of money. Now I happen to know, because we can contact each other, I wasn't going to make one slide just to do that at the end. I think you're sensible enough to get the message. But finish. It's nice and polite to say, thank you very much for your attention, all that. It's unimportant. You can say, thanks a lot, and bang, up goes, this is who I am. Not with those words, this is who I am, but like, John Smith at johnsmith.com. Bang. And on that bang, I will finish. Thank you. I have a question, so in Q&A I have a question. Who's going where for drinks later? Oh, that's good, okay. I need to check into a hotel, but I'm quite happy. I'm not going back to Budapest till tomorrow, so.
Thank you very much.
I'll do questions if you want, or we can email stuff. And yes, I'd like my pen back.
May I have one
You may have more than one question.
What if we use slides, but only as an illustrate what we are right now talking about? Because half of our audience is possibly visual type, and the other half is auditive. And if I treat both of them like king, I will get.
No, that's true. I mean, the one problem with putting images up, if you're putting images of something concrete, like a real something, yeah. And who were the? Do we have the fitness people here with the gym?
Yes, guys.
Okay. Well, they had a list of different things, and I thought that would be a perfect thing for a picture of kettlebells, picture of something, picture of something, picture of something. Because you can take that in. What I don't think I have, no, I don't have my keys with me. Normally I have a big bunch of keys. And I go, ding, 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 because we all are very simple people, and if something changes behind us or on a stage, the audience will go and look at it. So, audiences can read text faster than you can say it, which is another reason to put little, if anything, text writing on the screen. And if you change something behind you, the audience will go there. So, but we can take in images very quickly. So yes, if it's something relevant and concrete, the problem with putting up images of concepts, unless you kind of follow the whole thing through, you are making a big assumption on, you know, your image of something might not be. Yeah, I mean, you could do something like that. I mean, I sometimes do a talk on presenting with one slide, and I'll very quickly tell you one slide, which is a picture of a tree. It's actually a picture of the same tree in color and in black and white. That's the only slide I use. And the question of the audience is this: which do you prefer? And people, I'll give you some answers now. You know, people say the color one, oh, it's great, it's really realistic. Others say, oh, it's too bright. And the one in black and white, it's very artistic. Oh, it's very dull. So I've suddenly got 4 opinions on an image of a tree, and it's not even a tree. So people will judge you and your images subconsciously, and ladies, it's not just women who have feelings and feel things subconsciously, as horrible men do too, even though we don't realize it. And you get, and that's why, you know, be very careful with your images, but make things consistent. If you're in a design type business, make sure your slides look like design and not from PowerPoint 1927. You know, I've seen loads of startups in like creative industries and it's black and white, but you know, if you're going to do black and white, do white on black. You saw Gabor's slides. They were very, you know, the colors were very good. Some of the text got a bit small, but you know, the colors were bright and you could read everything. So be very careful, but really make the talk first and decide what images and what slides you really need afterwards, not the other way around. I did a survey monkey amongst a ton of people and said, what comes first? You know, the talk and the slides. Oh, we make the slides. We make the slides and then we talk about the slides. It's the wrong way around.
Thank you
Yes,
very much.
Simonyi also says that. But
Utána mi megbeszéljük.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks again.